Guess what? It is time to welcome a new season, and in the Pacific Northwest, that's going to be spring. The light is shifting and plants are emerging from their winter slumber. And along with that comes a tradition that is something I have loved to do my whole life, and that is color Easter eggs. Hi, this is Margaret Byrd, and welcome to Color Quest. This week we're going to put our fiber away and work on something that I love to do every year and have done so since I was a child. And what better ways to decorate and celebrate the springtime than by using natural color to dye Easter eggs. So let's hop into the dye studio alongside the Easter Bunny and see what magic we can bring about this year by dyeing Easter eggs with natural color. So if you have joined us for the past few years here at Color Quest, you know that every spring I release a new video about dyeing Easter eggs using natural color. The last 2 years, I have tried some of the common natural dyes that are used, many of which you can find in your kitchen, but I've also mixed it up a bit and looked to see how I might alter some of those more common natural food dyes to see if we can create something unique and different. Now, using things like turmeric and onion skins and red cabbage make for wonderful options, but it's always fun to mix it up a bit. So over the last year, I've been very busy working on different kinds of botanical printing, and it got me to thinking that maybe we could try a different technique with Easter eggs this year and see if we can't make some interesting patterns using natural material and steam. Now, even though an eggshell may not be the same as fiber that we dye, I figured it was worth a shot. And since we've looked recently, even as recent as last week, in something that I like to call a confetti design, I thought, let's see if we can't make confetti patterns on eggs. So let's take a look at what materials I've pulled together and start dyeing some Easter eggs. Here are the different dye materials that I've chosen, most of which I've used in previous videos. So we've got red cabbage, which is probably one of the most popular ones because it can make a blue dye. I also have blue butterfly pea, which I love. It's not a great dye for fiber, but since eggs only stick around for a short amount of time, we can see if we can't grab some of that blue, green, and purple colors out of that. I also have some hibiscus dried. This is something I've used every year, and that's a nice little confetti size, so figured that might be good to try. I've got red and yellow onion skins. I'm also going to try some pomegranate rinds this year. These make yellow and are used in natural dyeing often, so I figured that would be worthwhile. And I'm also going to work with avocado skin, not the stones, because I'm going to try to be cutting these up into little tiny pieces. I also often save exhaust dyes. These are dye material that I saved after making a dye itself. I have 2 different kinds of logwood, one in very small shavings as well as one that's in a little bit bigger wood chips. So I'm gonna try those, see if we can't get a purple from that. And I happen to have some dried Coreopsis, very little bit that I had from the color farm and saved. So I figured those make beautiful colors and hopefully it will translate on to eggshells. So in an effort to make confetti, I thought it it might be fun to actually use a hole punch and see if we can't get more round shapes out of things like the onion skins and even the pomegranate skin, which I've already cut a few out, as you can see. I'll do the same for the cabbage and the avocado skins. These guys are already in nice confetti shaped, so we won't worry about those, as well as our flowers can remain the same. I'm going to be using cheesecloth in order to wrap around the egg with the dye material inside. I have rubber bands that I'm going to be using to tie around just to keep it bound. And then I've got my steam pot, very simple. I figured we would steam them, use the steam, not only to release the natural color hopefully onto the eggs, but also to cook the eggs, because I'm going to work with raw eggs. Let's grab the eggs and get going. For the eggs, I'm going to just be using white this year. You can bring in brown eggs and they make really different colors with the natural dyes, but since I'm looking to have a more pronounced pattern or design on these, I thought it would be best just to work with white. But feel free to use brown eggs in your own studio. I know last year I did and really widened my palette by inviting brown eggs in. Now, of course, you do not need to cut your different food scraps and natural dyes into confetti shapes. I just thought it would be fun to do it. And since I'm only going to be dyeing 1 or 2 eggs for each one of the different types of plant matter, it's not going to take that much time. You can certainly simply rip your pieces into smaller pieces, or you can follow what I did 2 years ago, where I took long strips of these same types of plant matter and wrapped them around the eggs. So I guess I was, in a way, already working with printing on eggs, but not with steam. So let's go ahead and start making our confetti, and then we can design our eggs. Got my dye matter cut up into little confetti pieces. I will say that the red cabbage was kind of hard to make work with the hole punch. Everything else worked beautifully. I also cut the blue butterfly pea into some smaller pieces because they were dried whole flowers, and I decided to take off the stem portion just to give it more of that opportunity for the blue, purple, maybe pink, could be green, not sure, we'll see what happens come through. So I've cut my cheesecloth as well. I am going to be binding that with rubber bands. Now, I know from working with other types of botanical prints, there is the chance that the rubber band is going to leave a mark. And certainly because the cheesecloth has some texture to it, it too may leave some mark on the shell itself. I don't mind. I'm looking for just some kind of an interesting new kind of speckled pattern. So if a little bit of cheesecloth works out, that's okay too. Now, when I put them into the steam, I'm going to be leaving them in for maybe 20 minutes. I'm looking not only to extract the color using the heat from the steam, but also to cook the egg, because I am not going to be blowing out the raw inside in order to do this process. By using steam, I'm hoping to create more of a pattern as opposed to putting it right into dye, where it would be more uniform in color. And we'll see how that combination of rubber band, cheesecloth, and the confetti pieces of dye matter are going to interact. I'm pretty hopeful we're going to get something pretty cool. So I'm going to start bundling these up and put them into the steam bath. So you'll notice that I wet the egg because that would help a little bit with the small particles to stick to it as I rolled it. You will have to play around with this to see what works best for you, and it was nearly impossible for me to film me putting the rubber bands on. It's a bit tricky. So I have 9 eggs that I just put in the steam pot. It is one of each of the different dye sources. So for the final 3 eggs, I'm just gonna throw a bunch of different bits of dye matter together and see what kind of a mixture we get in this steam technique. Darn, the last one I broke. Oh well, that was gonna be a fun one. Be careful, don't squeeze too hard. So you know what? I have a brown egg, so I think I'll take that bit that broke and just wrap it around the brown egg, see what turns out for that one. So how about that? So many different results, many of which I didn't expect. I didn't get the more defined prints that I thought I might, but the way in which those little confetti pieces shared their color and then even in some instances acted as a resist as the dye moved about in the steam, I think going into the fibers of the cheesecloth and then attaching in different parts. It really was a surprising and super pretty result, I thought, on almost everything. Let me show you some of my favorites that I think are true keepers in this mix. So looking at the group, I really loved what the avocado skin did. It gave these really pretty circles where the avocado was, but the color itself spread out through the cheesecloth. And you can see the pinks that come from avocado skins, but then like these really sweet, almost like greenish yellowish dots. I thought that one turned out really well. The pomegranate skin is interesting. It gave a good pomegranate yellow. I did like some of this area here. Of course, the hibiscus, I really like what hibiscus does. This had a lot more of the hibiscus in it than a test piece that I did, but I mean, look at that. I just think that's absolutely beautiful. This was the red cabbage. It acted more as a resist and then gave just a slight color. So this also turned out really pretty. I love the way you got the dark dots and the light dots. This is with the yellow onion skin. I thought that was really pretty. And it touched the blue butterfly piece, so that blue was nice. So that might be something interesting to do, is have some of these things next to each other, because that, wow, that's a really beautiful combination. The blue butterfly pea was very faint and yet super nice to have a lighter colored, varied. You do get some of the blues, the greens, even a little bit of yellow, which might be coming from the onion skin where it touched the other egg. But that was a nice subtle difference. The red onion skin also absolutely beautiful. The variations, I mean, look at that right there. That's not something you could even try to do as an artist. Look how beautiful that one is. This was surprisingly uniform. This was the Coreopsis, which actually just probably because it released so much color. I mean, look at how much it colored the cheesecloth. So I'm not surprised that this egg was a little bit more uniform in color. It got some slight variations. You can see a little bit of where some of the Coreopsis bits attached and left their print. And probably my two favorite ones, this was the Logwood. I mean, what? So pretty. And you know, I've been saying that this was Logwood, but now that I see the color, I'm wondering if it isn't madder root. I'm not sure. This is why you should label things, but regardless, it looks so beautiful as a combination. And I love how dark some of these pieces are. So this was the two wood shavings, and then this one was that sort of blend of the three, if it is in fact madder root, not sure. And then the Logwood, and then some of the Coreopsis, and look to that, that really looked nice. Now I didn't leave these in as long, and that could be why they left a little bit more of the marks of prints, but look at how pretty that is. Then this was super bland, not much going on here. I think this was a combination of all the confetti pieces. So this was just a quick mix of the leftovers of red cabbage and the avocado skins. Very light. There's some interesting things in there. And then finally, I wish that this was on a white egg, because I do think this would have been really pretty. I mean, that's really pretty. but again, using a brown egg, which of course makes a totally different background for your colors. So anyway, I am super happy with all of these. I'm excited to share them with the bunny, and it's going to be a colorful Easter season. So that was really fun. It's just the kid in me, I guess, but I think I will be coloring Easter eggs my entire life, and I look forward to when my next generation arrives on the scene to start having that as a fun kids activity to do with the younger crowd. Anyway, I hope that you have a wonderful spring/Easter season. Maybe get a chance to do some decorating of your Easter eggs in this confetti style. Now, next week on Color Quest, I've been thinking a lot about how the entire rainbow of colors is available to us with natural color. So starting next week, I would like to work our way back through the rainbow, slowly but surely, looking at different ways in which we can capture each one of Roy G. Biv in our natural color palette. Next week, let's start with yellow. I look forward to seeing you, and please feel free to refer others to join us here at Color Quest. As you know, the more the merrier. Have a great week, and I will see you next time on Color Quest. But because I've been working it's always fun to try to, but it's always fun to